fMRI results show us that following a story, a narrative with a beginning, middle, and end, causes our brains to release two chemicals. These chemicals give us the uniquely human ability to connect with someone, even a total and complete stranger, and empathize with that person. In other words, stories are what we use to find meaning in our lives. When we neglect to tell stories to children, they are not able to experience this process. But how does that work into our learning? How do we tap into this powerful process to stimulate learning, or rather learning that is more than just memorization, instead learning that is an experience? If we listen to a PowerPoint presentation with boring bullet points, a certain part in the brain gets activated. Scientists call this Broca's area and Wernicke's area. Overall, it hits our language processing parts in the brain, where we decode words into meaning. And that's it. Nothing else happens. But something very different happens when we hear a story. Not only are the language processing parts in our brain activated, but any other area in our brain that we would use when experiencing the events of the story are activated also. If someone tells us about how delicious certain foods are, our sensory cortex lights up. If someone tells us about motion, our motor cortex gets active. The brains of the person telling a story and the person listening to it can synchronize. The reason why this process works so effectively on us is because we're basically wired for it. We think in stories all day long. No matter what we're doing during the day, whatever event it is, even if it's small, like running to the store, we think of it in our brain as a story, or a narrative, if you will. We have learned that personal stories and gossip make up 65% of our conversations. So now whenever we hear a story, we want to relate it to one of our existing experiences. That's why metaphors work so well with us. While we're busy searching for a similar experience in our brains, we activate a part in the brain called the insula, which helps us relate to that same experience of pain, joy, or disgust. When we tell stories to our students, this process also happens. When we lecture or show our students PowerPoints, this process doesn't happen. Period. This is probably why you can remember stories told from your history courses instead of the dates and facts listed on a PowerPoint slide. When the teacher told the story of the event happening in history, she or he activated this process in your brain completely unbeknown to you. The brain, it seems, does not make much of a distinction between reading about an experience and encountering it in real life. So when your students are reading or listening to a story, they are, in their brains, transported literally. Dr. Oatley and Dr. Marr, in collaboration with several other scientists, reported in 2 studies published in 2006 and 2009 that individuals who frequently read fiction seemed to be better able to understand other people, empathize with them, and see the world from their perspective. This relationship persisted even after the researchers accounted for the possibility that more empathetic individuals might prefer reading novels. In a 2010 study, Dr. Marr found a similar result in preschool-age children. The more stories they had read to them, the keener their theory of mind, an effect that was also produced by watching movies, but curiously, not by watching television. Dr. Marr believes that because children often watch TV alone, but go to the movies with their parents, they may experience more parent-children conversations about mental states when it comes to films. So if you don't want to be a reader, then realize you are depriving your brain of this process. But when you don't encourage your students to be readers or help them develop the habit of being a lifelong reader, then you are depriving them of this brain activity. It's as simple as that.